I know from time to time, we take certain things for granted. And sometimes I think I take where I live for granted. I love where I live. I'm going on 4 years now in Colgate, Wisconsin, if you're familiar with the Colgate area. Holy Hill is right in our backyard, so it's pretty neat to see that image every single morning. And what I love, and I was telling somebody this the other day, it's so quiet and peaceful where we live. You see more deer on a daily basis than you do cars. And I absolutely love that. The other thing that's kind of unique about where we live is there are farms everywhere. I'm a city boy. I barely know how to spell farm, but there's farms everywhere. And I was just taking my son Hudson to run an errand. I forget where we were going. I guess it doesn't matter. But we were going for an errand, and as we're driving, we see this. You have this tractor in this farmland, and it's plowing this little machine, pulling this little machine behind it, and it's digging up the dirt. Well, as my 7-year-old is naturally inquisitive, Daddy, what's that? I said, well, that's a tractor, Hudson, thank you. He said, well, but what is he doing? Well, and again, I'm not a farmer. I don't have like the overalls or the straw hat or anything, so I'm not an expert. But I said, well, he's tilling the land, son. And I was hoping Hudson would stop there because that's about all I know of this picture. But then he asked that magical question that every parent hates, why? Dad, why is he tilling? And the only thing I could say was he's getting ready to plant, and that helps the plants grow. Again, Hudson, how does that work? Why? Ask your mother, I pretty much said. I don't know. I mean, that's the extent. I just know that they till before they plant, and it helps the plants grow. But one of the things that makes me me, and I shared this with you guys not too long ago, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder a couple years ago. It kind of sucks to have that, but one of the blessings of that is you really don't let things go, and you learn a lot because you can't just say, I don't know what it is. So I went to Google, and I wanted to learn, how does tilling the land work? Why is that so good? And I learned a couple of things about tilling the land. First, if you're going to plant something and it's going to be successful, you need to break this soil because plants do not do well, seeds do not do well in thick, hard soil. You got to break it up. You got to loosen it up. What's nice about that too, as you're breaking and loosening up the soil, it starts to aerate the land. Aerate just means it gives oxygen to the land. It gives oxygen to the soil. It basically breathes life into it, and that helps the seed grow. But the other thing is, a lot of this soil, it's nutrient rich. But if it's thick, if it's hard, if it's not malleable, the nutrients are just sitting in there. By chopping it up, by churning it up, by mixing it up, the nutrients start to kind of come about, and that helps the plants as well. And when all of that happens, you get this in a matter of a couple of months. You get a bountiful harvest. You get healthy looking plants. You have a feast for all of humanity because you created a good climate for that seed to grow. So as I'm thinking about this and obsessing about it, and probably should have been doing something else rather than researching tilling for 3 hours. My gosh, when am I going to use that? But some of my biggest takeaways were, the soil needs to be broken if this is going to be successful. The seed cannot grow in an atmosphere that is thick, that is hard, that is non-flexible. The seed is going to grow if oxygen is provided, if life is literally breathed into it, and also the soil becomes life-sustaining when these nutrients are started to be spread out throughout the soil. It just creates this perfect situation. I look at everything through a spiritual lens. I can't help it, and I'm just sitting here going, just like the soil needs to be tilled by us before we can reap the bountiful harvest, I also do believe that God needs to till us so that He can realize a harvest through us. If we look at this through God's eyes, if we look at this through God's perspective, we a lot of times we just go through our life. I'm me, I'm doing my thing, I'm great just the way that I am. God has a plan for you. God has a plan for me. God has a plan for all of humanity. What He needs to do is He needs to reap that bountiful harvest. That is the end goal. That is the end game. That bountiful harvest is realizing some goal through us, making us a certain type of person, having us fulfill a certain type of task, having us realize some kind of desired outcome. How is He going to realize that harvest if we're hard, if we're thick, if we haven't been churned up a little bit. And just like the farmer churns up the soil, God churns up us. If you're the farmer, does that mean he hates the soil? Does that mean he's punishing the soil? Does that mean he doesn't like the soil? No, the farmer is creating a condition for growth, success, just like God does in us. So for us, God needs to break us up a little bit. God needs to churn us up a little bit. God needs to mix us up a little bit. And one of the other things that I found interesting about churning, or tilling, I should say, this is not a superficial thing. When you remember that picture of the tractor up there, they're not just going 1 or 2 inches underground. Some of this tilling is going 8 to 10 inches underground. They are going deep. That is a deep churn. God also tills us at a deep level. He tills our hearts. He tills our souls so that we can start to reap that bountiful harvest from the inside out. And again, this is scriptural. So if we look at Scripture, in this case, Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 through 13, "Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose." I like verse 13 in particular. The 3 things that pop out to me: 1, God is working. Every second of every minute of every hour of every day, God is working. He's not working above us. He's not working below us. He's not working side to side of us. He's working in us. And then lastly, to fulfill his good purpose. You got a goal for your life. I got a goal for my life. But guess what? It's not about our goal. It's not about my will. It's about thy will. And if he is going to realize that harvest, he has got to create the conditions for success. So here's a little saying that I want you to try to commit to memory here. Before you know what he's telling you, first know that he's tilling you. And I think we get this out of order too often. God, what are you trying to tell me? God, I don't get it. God, what do you want me to do? And then we complain when our life is off kilter. Then we complain where life doesn't go according to plan. Then we complain, God, don't you love me? Why are my wife and I not getting along? God, don't you love me? Why is my business struggling? God, don't you love me? Why did I get this health diagnosis? He's trying to tell you something by tilling you. So before you start wondering, what are you trying to tell me? First know that God is tilling you. Right now, just go through your life a little bit. How is God tilling your marriage today? How is he breaking that up a little bit? How is he throwing some dirt around a little bit? How is he churning that up a little bit? And what could that mean? How is that leading to hopefully a bountiful harvest? How is God tilling your business today? Cash flow problems, hiring the right person. I just lost my client. He is churning things up to reap a bountiful harvest for you. How is God tilling your finances today? Cash flow, debt. Oh my gosh, how am I going to meet these obligations? How is he churning things up to create the climate for success? How about this? How is God tilling your health today to create a climate for long-lasting, enduring success? If you're a farmer, you recognize you have to break that soil, bust that soil, churn that soil to realize a bountiful harvest. We are absolutely no different. God needs to bust us, churn us, dig us a little bit to create that climate for growth, success. So I got 3 words for you as we get ready to wrap this portion of the meeting up. Embrace the till. Embrace it. If God's not tilling you, he doesn't have a plan for you. If God's not tilling you, he's not trying to grow you. If God's not tilling you, he doesn't have a bountiful harvest in mind. And as busy business executives with all the personal and professional stress that we go through, he is constantly tilling us every minute of every hour of every day, and we should be very thankful for that. I just want to leave you with this thought here. Again, remember, embrace the till because God is working something beautiful in you right now for the good.